Thank you so much for joining us. For those of you that are joining us as well for the annual membership, those that are joining us for the mentorship, thank you so much. Now, today what I really felt on my heart is going to be so surprising. That what I really felt on my heart to share is the constant living in denial. I don't know whether you've seen people that live in denial. But one thing I have witnessed over and over and over again with people that come to me, and not just people who are starting off in life, but people that have even gotten somewhere in life, living in a state of denial of the things that they could have done or they had to do, and then those things land them in a very bad state, but they slid in that state without choosing that state. For example, someone slides into a place where they lack focus, total lack of focus, but it's not that they woke up and said, you know what, let me not focus. No, they just slid and found themselves there. You find yourself in a place where you totally don't have money. But again, you have the mind, you have the imagination, you have everything. But while you have the warning signs, I don't know how many of us get warning signs of things are going bad, and then you're like, I'm still good. I'm still good. And some of us, we and we say, I'm a last minute person. So you feel like you're a clincher. Just when you're about to jump off the cliff, you will catch yourself in the moment. And then because we are sliding, you never know when you go off the cliff. Before you know it, you're already in the ocean and you're swimming in deep waters. But why? Because there was a state of denial that you lived in for quite some time, and you never gave yourself the leeway or the redemption. You didn't redeem yourself to say, you know what, I really need to address this issue, or I need to look eye to eye with this issue, and we live in a state of avoidance. And I think, Coach Molly, you could be one of those people that meets this a lot when it comes to forgiveness, when it comes... do you know how we can avoid important things? They look small, but very important things. You hold on to a grudge, but you know that you're not supposed to hold on to that grudge. How many of us have blocked people? Or even deleted their numbers? Or even, like, you do something, and in your heart of hearts, you know you're doing something wrong. And you just stay in a state because you don't want to repair that relationship. Or you feel like, I am losing something by repairing this relationship. Or I am looking less than, but, you know, have you ever been in a state of overspending and you're like, no, and again, and you know there is a state of duality. This we will talk about later, but there is a state of duality that we all live in, that there is a good you and there is a bad you at the same time, like inside of you. So sometimes there is a you that tells you, speed, you control your speed, you know, like you're spending a lot. And then there is you that is thinking, the money will always be there. I can always do one or two things, you know, money has always been there. So before you know it, you are sliding, and you're sliding. Even when you're using your last coin, you're actually not mindful because you have been avoiding this and you're living in a state of denial, okay? So the best thing that we need to do is to redeem ourselves. The biggest redemption we need is to be redeemed from denial, okay? It comes in all forms, but we're going to break it down and be able to understand it. I hope that we can be able to move together. Now, denial to me is really an invisible prison, okay? It's invisible. You're in a prison, but it's invisible. You don't feel like you're in a prison. Okay, people are in denial about their habits, are in denial about their addictions, they're in denial about bad spending, they're in denial about what's delayed. You remember that time when we talked about why aren't you getting the money? Do you know that we all had answers? Like you can literally, if I asked you that question as an individual, you would have answers from A to Z as to why you're not getting the money that you want to get. But when they tell you lift a finger to even work on one of them, even if someone tells you, you write a proper profile for yourself, do you know that you can take a full year? Did you write it? And because no one is going to beat you, you will find yourself not writing your profile. You'll find yourself not posting on social media. You'll find yourself not showing up. Why? No one is going to beat you, but you are in a constant state of denial. And you know that it's painful. It's like when you know that you have to read, but you're not reading. And then like, exams are coming. And like, I will read last minute, you know? And then last minute, you see stars. You look at the book and you don't remember anything. So it's a prison, but it does not have walls. Like you have properly imprisoned yourself. And when we say that the devil is in the details, I will say that the devil is in denial. Because what you can't face, you cannot treat, or you cannot overcome. If it's still boiling underneath the surface, without you bringing it cautiously on top of the surface, you can never treat it, or you can never do anything about it. And I found out that denial, the reason as to why I even talk about this, because I have seen it in a certain part of my life. The reason as to why I did not progress, do anything, I did not achieve the things that I wanted to do, there was an issue of denial that was holding me. And I felt like it was leading me to settling, like, settling for something. You're settling for the money that you get, like you're getting cartoon money, or you're getting, it's not enough, you know that it's not enough, but you're settling. You're busy moving every day, like it's another day comes and another week comes and another year comes, and then you're looking at old age is coming. Whenever you look at an elderly person, and whenever you have to take care of one, you have to pay their hospital bills, then you get reminded, you're like, how? And yet this generation is even spoiled. Do you know that we are taking care of our parents, but chances are our children will never be in position to even take care of us, because the generations are getting spoiled. So that means you live a life of denial, and you enter a prison until you can never redeem yourself, and you settle for the rest of your life. Okay, until you can be able to talk to yourself about it. So you allow to stay in a life of averageness. The moment you stay in a state of denial, you're settling for things, and then you're saying, I want a life of average living. It's okay, I can live this kind of life, and then I can live a life of stagnation. I can be where I am, even if I don't get any more money, even if I don't get any more followers, even if I don't get any more of anything. By the way, it could be a spiritual connection. Do you know that we live in denial about spiritual connection with God? How many of us have been, like, you've felt the Spirit of God leading you to pray and fast and dive deeper into the Word, and all of a sudden you wake up every day and you eat. Like you're on your merry way, like you're eating, and you feel like a thing, but God is merciful enough, even when, and let me tell you, before you know it, that conviction dies down. Because when you overeat, when you overstretch, when you cannot do anything that you feel God is putting on your heart to do, the voice of God is shadowed by everything else that is happening in your life. So you're in a life of stagnation, but you're still, praise God, hallelujah, we are going to heaven. But you're going to heaven poor. You're going to heaven a beggar. Yes, it does not mean that beggars are not going to. They can go to heaven. But again, if God said 100 on earth and 100 in heaven, why would you rather settle for a life of 0 on earth? That means you have stayed in denial about certain things. So when you look at this, I hope that you can see together with me that a life of failure is a life of denial, because half the time, whoever is failing, they know what to do not to stay a failure. But they would rather not face what they have to do. They would rather be complacent and never do the things that they have to do. I have some particular things that I put down here that I want us to actually go through with. But one of the things that really touched me when I was thinking about this, you know how life has seasons? And we all move from seasons that are bad and seasons that are good. Every one of us, even those that are really working hard. Now, when it comes to you living in a state of denial, it's you deciding to make a season a cycle. Because life has ups and downs. That is normal. Whether you're successful, whether you're filthy rich, whether you're wealthy, whether life has ups and downs. But there is one choosing to make a constant cycle of failure or a constant cycle of luck. And seasons come and go without your power. You cannot control them. But the cycles, you can actually control them. You can say, you know what, I want to stay in a constant state of thriving. Yes, seasons are going to be there when they are down, but that is why we have money coaches, the money buddies that tell us that, you know what, a season will come, Gerimbi. You can even forecast and say January, February, and March are not going to be as good. So don't overspend in December. Make sure that you keep some of the money so that you can go through that, because we all know children are going to school, people are not spending. If you're a business person, no one is buying. If you're a business person, no customer wants to pay you. Everyone is waiting until the bad season has gone. So you realize that you can pick on a bad season and decide to turn it into a cycle. Like we've been in this season where people are talking about economic, downfall, at economy. So you realize that everyone is shouting economy. But I remember sometime I said, wowo kaba kaba wika, because waliwo abatakaba. There are people that have chosen different cycles in their lives. They're like, is the world bad? Yes, it is bad. Is fuel prices? Yes, everyone is facing the same thing. So do you see that a person in a cycle, a self-made cycle, like it becomes so hard for you to even open your mouth and speak. Because while you're speaking, others are saying, my friend, I'm taking my children to an international school. I am living in a certain apartment, or I have built this kind of house, or I'm driving this car, and I'm not saying that material things are the measurement of wealth, but clearly you can see there are people who are just moving on like life has nothing. So while you're crying of the crunch down, or while you're crying of the economy, someone else is actually thriving. So you realize that you can say, and I think it's last week that I talked about getting tired. It was on the show, and I said that one of the things that got me out of my comfort zone was just getting angry and tired about where I was. I was like, you know what, I have been, like long enough, I have been in this, and I don't think I want to be in this anymore. The state of not having, the state of not being able to help my people, the state of, no, I cannot be in this state, and I just got tired. So you realize that some of the things that break cycles are you getting tired and angry and saying, you know what, I have lived in denial for so long, but now it's time that I woke up and did the things that I need to do in order to break this cycle and start another cycle. So for me, I wanted to end the cycle of poverty in my whole family. And you know, there's something that Tim usually talks about, and he says that in every generation, God chooses one person to change the cycle of the whole family. And I believe in that, because I have seen it in my family. And when you look clearly in your family, you will see that it's possible that you are not the best of the best right now, that you don't have it all together, but there is something that is off you. There is a sight, a vision that you have that no one else has. There is possibilities that you see that no one else is seeing. There is a speed that you're moving at, an acceleration. There is a life that you are not willing to live. You are willing to totally live a different. So you realize that you can break a cycle, and your children will never experience the seasons that the world is experiencing until they choose their own cycles. Because again, we give birth to children and they choose their own cycles when they grow up. Because you can give a child all the inheritance, and they will show you, they will drink and they will make party. You remember the prodigal son? The father was a rich man, wealthy man. Even the stewards or the keepers of the house were eating so well. You remember when he started saying, you know what, my father's workers are eating better than I am. I'm eating with, with animals. So you realize that he took his money, and the father was like, you know what, I'm never going to change the seasons for you, the cycle for you. Let me give you your inheritance. And then he went and ate it all. So you realize that he lived in denial that there is no tomorrow. Some of us live in denial that there is no tomorrow, or we will not need to live tomorrow. So we live today in a reckless way and in a way that we are not supposed to live. Okay? So that means when it comes to the cycle, denial deters you from changing the cycle. Because then you have chosen not to see what you have to see. Let's go to some of these things that put down. That is the deliberate act of closing your eyes to the glaring truth that may hurt your feeling now but may save you later. Denial. Like you choose to close your eyes. Have you seen people dating married people? They know it. Half the time when I talk to them, because some of them will come for counseling, and they will say, I knew I was doing something wrong. So you are choosing to close your eyes to do something that you know that you're not supposed to do. So you're closing your eyes to the glaring truth that may hurt you now. Because if you assess, you will say, this is a bribe. I take this bribe, I don't know how it will come back to me or haunting me. Some people have lost major offices because of taking bribes. And the bribe did not even equate the money they earn. So, but in that moment, you just find yourself closing your eyes to the glaring truth that may hurt now, that I have not taken this money. Chiwa chiruma, I have not taken this money, or I have refunded it. But it is going to save me later. Or I will have more authenticity, I will have more authority, moral authority, to even talk about. Do you know that the people that they place even in positions of fighting corruption, sometimes they don't have the moral authority to talk about corruption? Why? Because they are with their juniors behind doors fixing things. So now when he comes here and he starts saying, you know, there are heavy repercussions, everyone, their juniors are looking on and they're like, you know. But before you know it, they're losing their jobs, they're losing the lifestyle they have lived for the longest time, and some of them have never found their purpose because they've been working in government for all their lives, and all of a sudden now they have to go back to the village, or they just have to retire by force. And let me tell you, government is one of the worst places, because clearly they can even bring for you a letter and tell you to resign because they know something about you. They're like, you know what? Totutawanya tosambagala togezako kukaba. Just resign the job. Onoganirawa. Because then you're thinking, my name versus, so before you know it, you have written a letter to resign. And you know you have no means of survival whatsoever. You don't know where you are going. But while you were eating that money or doing the things that you were doing, the glaring truth was in front of your eyes, and you just decided to close your eyes to a truth that will hurt you then, but will save you later. Number 2, unwillingness to deal with something now that will deal with you later. You're just unwilling. Unwillingness to do something now that will come back and deal with you later. So you realize that in order to step out of denial, there has to be a certain willingness and deliberacy that, you know what, my eyes are open to this truth and I am willing to act on this truth of the matter that is in front of me. I am not going to close my eyes. I am going to have my eyes open. Do you know there are people who have gotten into marriages, but they just didn't intend to get into bad marriages. But they closed their eyes while they were getting into the marriage. They were seeing a few things, a few flags, but they were saying, kakati omanyi, there is no perfect marriage. There is no perfect marriage, but you're taking a deal breaker because of the generalized saying of there is no perfect marriage. So someone walks into a toxic marriage, someone walks into a marriage where they are being beaten, or someone, even the guys, you walk into a marriage where you are totally disrespected, but you were disrespected in the relationship, and you have walked down the aisle with someone who disrespects you, and you have gotten in there, and clearly you feel, let me tell you, your mind will always be speaking loud. You will always know that there's something wrong. But you will be like, you know what? I think others are facing the same thing. Look, whatever you get, you don't know what's happening behind people's doors. So you even take those motivational quotes, so personal, you personalize them, and you encourage yourself on a very wrong issue. You're going down the drain. So you realize there is unwillingness. Because if you were willing, you'll be like, you know what? This is where it stops. It ends now. I don't care who says what. I don't know what their parents will say. I don't know what their friends will say. I don't know. No one is going to be in this marriage for me. I am the one that is going to be in this marriage. If I don't see it working right now, I am not going to fix things that I don't understand. Okay? So the unwillingness. Number 3, sight suppression. You choose to live like you are blind, yet you can see. That is denial. You choose to live like you are blind. You know what to do to make more money. You know that you must be able to pursue clients. You must be able to do collaborations. You can't go at it alone. You must be able to collaborate. Because there are other people, for example, if you collaborate in the world of real estate, that means someone will say, you know what, I have so many clients. Can I give some of these clients to someone that I collaborate with? Or even in the law firms, you realize that there is a lot that you can collaborate on, but you're like, me, I am not really a people person. You're living in denial. I am not really a people person. And then netwenyumiriza are in our weaknesses. So that is the suppression of the sight. You're suppressing your eyesight. You're choosing to say, you know what, I am blind. Yes, I can see clearly. That if I need to go to play golf with someone, let me go and play golf. If I need to meet someone over coffee, let me meet someone over coffee. But you're like, now I even don't feel like dressing up and then go out, drive out of home, and then I only have time to watch series. But you know that if you moved out and knocked on a few doors, you know that you would sell more products. You know that if you mentioned in your church that this is the kind of, some people are in churches but or even places of worship where people don't know what you're doing. And yet you're here, you're praying for breakthroughs, you're disturbing God. Sometimes you're just disturbing God. We're actually not praying. Because I think half the time God is saying, but you know what to do. You actually know what to do. They're like, I would rather stay in an apartment of 3 million and you even don't have a single plot of land. You have a business, but the business is losing capital, but you would rather maintain your hype so that everyone sees that you're in a certain class. What more blindness do we need? That is blindness. That is you saying, I will close my eyes to this truth and you still take a child to an expensive school. You know that you can't afford it. You know it in your heart. You're like, there's a certain person, and I know at some point they will watch this video, whenever the term is starting, they're sending me a message to borrow money. Every term for the past 6 terms, they send money to borrow money. I have never given them a penny. Because at first, I don't know them. I don't think I've even met them. But I think they see me, maybe in public or on TV or somewhere. But in my heart, I was like, when they sent me the second message, you realize that some phones don't delete messages. So they sent me a message. I think for them, they thought, touch a money. So they sent another message, and then they sent another message, and then they sent another message 6 times, and it's the same message copied and pasted. And in my heart, I'm like, how many people are they pasting this message to? You know, I am so bad. You know, I separated with my husband and he's really a bad man. He's not providing for his children. I have borrowed money to take my children back to school in time. Let me tell you, half the time the term is starting, even if you are the wealthiest person, so your money can be held up in investments and you even don't have money to take back the children to school. Like immediately. But you realize that this person, because I was like, at some point I asked her, what do you do? Like, I have looked for jobs and I have failed to get jobs. And then I was like, you know what? I should be disciplined. I don't think I can take on this conversation longer. Because again, I will be mistaken. Because when you tell someone to go work when they were asking to borrow for 6 times, then they are thinking, you're wiseacring. Then I would rather cut the conversation and let you be. Because let me tell you, if you want to work in this city, if you want to work, no one can tell me, natambude nisifuna mulimu. If you really want to work, you cannot tell me. As in, lower the standards, start down. You don't have to start up. And sometimes you need to volunteer before you're even given a place, in a certain place. And sometimes you just don't want to tell people that, you know what, this is what I'm going through. Do you know how many single women or single men are not getting spouses because people around them don't know that they are single? They're living like a married life, a content life of some sorts. And they're not telling anyone that, you know what, you know, and in case, you can never know. I like people who are bold these days. Because these days the pools are getting smaller and smaller. So someone comes to you and tells you, you never know. If there is someone that you can connect me with, invite me. Invite me, I know what to do. So you realize denial is very bad. Number 4, let's go. Commitment to feeling good by doing nothing instead of becoming better by doing something. Commitment to feeling good by doing nothing instead of becoming better by doing something. Do you know that doing something to some people is so painful? Just to lift their fingers to do something, even if it's to write a report, even if it's, why do people procrastinate? It's because they feel like, I would rather rest. I will do it later. They are not busy, they are chilling. If you're a content creator, you will know. There are times you'll just feel like, you know what? It doesn't have to be every day or every You know, you want to go on a live, you want to do a live or a live Instagram or a live YouTube, and you're like, I will do it tomorrow. Never, I didn't make an appointment with anyone. No one is going to pay me, and no one is expecting me anyway. And like, seriously speaking, you just choose to feel good by doing nothing. But you know that not even a feeling, it's not you're not feeling good. Because do you know that you feel good when you're accomplished, when you achieve something? But when you're not when you're in a state of not achieving, you feel like there's something disturbing you. I don't know if that happens to you. If there is something I have not done and I know I'm supposed to do, I am unsettled, that I can't even do the things that I'm supposed to do, so I will procrastinate on everything. Until I go back to the root and I'm like, you know what, there's something I have not done and it's causing me this unsettledness, and I don't think I want to stay in this limbo for a long time. So let me face what I need. So you realize that we all live in a state of denial somewhere, somehow. Did you understand that statement? That commitment, you are so committed, and let me tell you, we get committed to bad things. You are so committed to feeling good by doing nothing. You're like, nothing is taking me out of this comfort zone, instead of becoming better by doing something. But it takes work, it takes effort, it takes showing up even when you don't know. Sometimes you'll not feel like even, you know, putting on. Sometimes even on those low days, do you realize that you will put on a bit of your tategera? You just wake up and you slap on anything. You're like, but there are days you want to compose yourself and you want to move out of that. And you also feel like, you know what, even if you don't tell me, I know I am good. But there are days you just feel like, you know what, let's cover ourselves and just go out. We can't show up naked, so let's just cover. Let's put on anything. I know this happens mostly to the ladies, but I know even the men feel those down days. You wake up and you just don't feel like doing anything at all or lifting your finger, okay? An act intended to foster protection, but instead becomes a self-imposed prison and a life sentence. Do you know that denial is supposed to protect you? Like, that's how you feel. While you are living in denial, it's protecting your fragile ego. It's protecting, as in, it's keeping you protected from the harm, the hard work, you know, facing something. You know, it's gruesome to face certain things, and you're like, you know what, olimwavu. Like, tolina. Do you know, mentioning those certain truths to yourself and saying, you know what, you are, I mean, if it's a status, you're not anywhere in the middle. If you're a country, you're not anywhere close. I mean, to third world, but I don't even know we are in third world. I think we are in fourth or even ungraded. Some of us fear failure, so would rather do nothing instead of do something and fail. So we are protecting ourselves. Like her going to that party, I don't know who's going to be there and what they're going to be looking like and what they're going to, like, you know what, let me just stay home and just Netflix and popcorn, wear you pajamas, and then you sit and put your legs up. Why? The fear of unknown, uncertainty, and you're not willing to just put yourself out there. So now you have given yourself a protection of some sorts, because if you don't show up, no one is going to see you and no one is going to talk about you. If you don't show up, you're not going to have to work hard and you're not going to have to push boundaries. If you don't show up, so in a way, yeah, you're chilling. But you are chilling with your demon. Some people even fear to come to growth spaces because, again, now, if they don't see me grow, I think they will have measurements of how someone is growing. People are giving testimonies. Do you know people even sometimes fear going to church? They're like, Mama, people are giving testimonies. People, the other one got her what? The other one got what? They are delivered from what? They're like, let me get a pastor on TV and watch online. And they just don't want accountability. Accountability is hard. Do you love accountability? Do you love being accountable? Do you love being accountable? No, it just feels like someone wants for you to account, even if it's for your day, by the way, not for your money. As in someone, you have a spouse and then you have to be accountable and tell them, you know what, I was here and then I went here and then I did. Or just to tell them that today, this is going to be my kind of day. You know, some people don't like that. Some people even fear marriage because they feel like marriage is a prison. kakati I'll have someone asking me where I'm coming from, where I went, what time, and there are people who will even ask you, you told me late, what time did you reach there? What time? There are people who will even calculate, and then you're like, the thing is, let me tell you, everything worthwhile, I think even John Maxwell said it, is an uphill task. An uphill task does not happen in denial. It happens when you are intentional and deliberate. That means your eyes are open, you are seeing it's a mountain, and you're committing to climbing that mountain. You're committing to creating that content. You're committing to manufacturing more. You're committing to do the collaborations. You're committing to create a better relationship with God. You're committing to fast. You see food everywhere. Everyone is eating. And you're saying, you know what? I am fasting. I am committed to this. It's an uphill task. It's a mountain. That's why they say that a wise man never builds a house minus calculating the price. So that means you do not just say, you know what, let me just slide into this place of building a house. No, you calculate your price and you're like, how much do I need to start? And when I start, how am I going to sustain this project? Or how am I going to sustain this building? And then you're like, I'm going to put aside this monthly, and everything that is going to come as a windfall is going to go on that project. As in, you make your estimations. And let me tell you, just like they say that we cast our cares to God, we do not cast our cares of being in denial. No, God is not going to take those cares. He's wiser than that. He wants you to cast the cares of, I have done my part, and now, God, it is time to do part. You say that you're going to bless the works of my hands. So I have put my hands to work. Now it's your turn to bless the works of my hands. But you're not going to ask him to bless nothing. So living in denial is you saying, you know what? There's someone who told me, I can't do such a job. But guess what? They are busy asking, or, for money, for handouts. They're saying they would rather have 5 men that are giving to them instead of lifting a finger to even do anything. And then after that, they forget that they told you they would rather be sustained, and then they also come and say, I will pay you back. In my head, I'm like, you will pay back using what? So you realize that sometimes we are just not putting a platform for God to bless. If he says, do the works of your hands, even if you do candles, even if you do, as in anything. For those of you that have done products, you can clearly see that when God says he will bless the works of your hands, that you will do product and people will buy your product. And some people will buy by us asking whether it's going to work or it's not going to work. And then it will work. And some people, that is why you still have the market share, that you will go, Mr. Haruna knows this, you will go to a supermarket and you will have 100 samples or kinds of soaps. For those that are baking cakes or bread, you will have 100 different breads. But everyone that brought bread to that supermarket is working. Yes, there are those who are working higher than others, but they said, you know what, I will go. Njagutekayo ne wankwadde tebagumanyi linnya. Njakulekayo esatu. Olulala ndekeyo mukaaga. Olulala ndekeyo. Why? They are saying, you know what, I am not in denial of, you know what, I'm not going to do this. I don't think there is market. Nga real estate agents, nga banji. Kati nze ngenda kwesonsekawa. I think we talked about this for those that were in the mentorship, and we're like, you know, it's saturated. The market is saturated. Wapi, it's not saturated. The nothing doers are the many. There are more than those that are doing something. You can graduate a class of 100 coaches, and 2 will jump out of denial and do the work. That is why you should never fear anything to say, this is saturated. No, it is not saturated. Survival for? And being fit, you choose to be fit. You don't become fit by sitting and eating. You become fit by working out, practicing your muscles, so that you can be fit. So if it's survival for the fittest, there are those who will choose, let me tell you, anytime, even if they built a gym in their home, that they will never step into that gym. Even if you put good food in their home, they will get out to go and buy junk and eat junk. So you realize that everything is a choice. But while you're living in denial, it's a self-imposed Prison, it's an act to make you feel good, to foster protection right now, but I don't want protection if tomorrow I'm not going to be better. No, I would rather be exposed. I would rather go through the pain and the turmoil, and then I create a better tomorrow. Because I think I will need more chilling tomorrow than I am chilling right now. So why not get to work? I would rather get to work right now. And let me tell you, when I think this gentleman, I don't remember his name, but when he says that most of the wealth of the world is in the graveyard, I think he was very right. Because when they say that we rarely use even the 1% of our brain, and I want us to just go through it right now, that if you decided to even just take a notch higher part of what you're doing right now, can you imagine the results you would get? And all of us, me inclusive. It's not that I am there doing everything that I must do. No. In certain areas of my life, there is a bit of denial. And sometimes we wake up and we slumber again. We wake up and we slumber again. Things work out, and then when they work out, instead of us holding on and working better, then we find ourselves down. And that is why I said, do not fear anyone. Just like they said that the race is not to the swift, and it's not the strong who eat, but chance happens to all of us. But how we use that chance matters. We have 12 months, we have the same hours in the day, and other people are going to be better than others. There is a reason as to why other people can be better than others. That means some of us prolong our own sense of denial for the longest time about certain things in our lives. And then even when someone points it out, you hate them. Why do you point out? Why do you point out? Has someone ever talked about your weight? How did you feel? You know, we just get redeemed after some time, and you're like, you know what, like me or leave me, I am who I am. So mind your business. But the thing is, we don't want people commenting on certain things. Why? Because you're waking me out of slumber. I was in denial properly, and I was enjoying my chill. But now you're coming to wake me out, Mbu, you're working too hard. Like Mr. Sabiti. Gym Monday to Saturday, and then I'm like, you know what, it's okay, I'll stay home and eat. Don't mind me. Go on with your deal. As in, clearly you can see there are people, and that is why they say when you're collaborating, choose people that are better than you, or you are at the same level, so that and you're like, you know what, we need to do better. Let's wake up, you know. So, and when you wake up, you're able then to send a hand to another person and tell them, making decisions is not easy. Being deliberate is not easy. Being willful is not easy. Being in denial is the sweetest thing, because it protects you from everything, but it protects you in a prison with your demons of poverty, with your demons of not growing, with your demons of everything. And then you wake up at 50 years old, the world has left you, or 60 years old, the world has left you, and then ngotandika kukolima. It's witchcraft, direct witchcraft. Because by the time you walk on tola, that means you're unsettled. And let me tell you, when someone is unsettling you about something, they are being a mirror. You know, a full-size mirror that is mirroring your own picture that you don't want. Your own picture of failure, your own picture of uncontrolled weight, your own picture of not getting the money that you want, your own picture of slow movement. And ngokolachi ononyigira endabirwamu ozonogenda kuzaasa mu nsi yonna oba oyingira serena nga weerabeera ng'ogambera nzuuno ntuuse. But the thing is, we berate ourselves because we stay in denial about so many things. Let me tell you, you would rather try and fail. That is why I love active people. Definitely not the activity without a sense of direction, because again, we've seen people have a parlor. I would rather have someone that you you're running faster than you should. Come back. Because then they are willing. Even when they come back, they're unsettled. They want to move things. They want to shift things. And you're like, slow down, slow down. But again, they are motivated. They want to do something. Okusingono that is totally demotivated. And I think I usually tell people, the worst spouse to marry is one that lacks ambition at all. Like, how is ambition supposed to be contagious? It's not contagious. You can't be in a house, you're a wife and you're working hard, or you're and you're working hard, and you think that it's going to be contagious by osmosis, that your wife is also going to be working hard. I think you've seen men who complain that my woman is like a teddy bear. I find her home a social Angela, and then they want expensive things. But you know that a hard-working woman, you will see an expensive thing and you're like, no, I will come back to you later. But right now, it's time to reinvest. Right now, it's time to, you know, because you know how hard, and I think it's my mother-in-law that usually says that, you know what, nebwempita mu bizibu ebimu sibakubira simu wachi kubanga mmanyi obuzibu bwa ssente nali nzikozeeko. I know how hard it can be. So hard work is not contagious. And the worst, you know, you can have a woman that is sleeping, eh? But my friend, if you ever have a man that is that lacks ambition, ah, my goodness. I even don't know how to term that. Because you are supposed to be the leader and you're the one that lacks ambition. No, I don't know how to categorize you, because you're not third world, you're ungraded. Because then how can you lead without ambition? That is why you will see people employing tactics of narcissism and toxicity. Why? Because they want to twist you, to manipulate you, to subdue you, so that they can show you nze wa amanyi by force. No, abamanyi tebogera nti bamanyi. Omulaba bulabi n'omanya nti wachi. Omukulembeze tajja n'agamba I am the leader here, I am the leader here. No. By the time you say I am the leader here, you have lost it. You're not a leader. You're actually not even following. You're ungraded. You know? Yeah, because if a leader is not a leader, they become a big-headed follower. They can't even follow. So instead of following, they are going to assume a leadership position that subdues the one that is seated in the leadership seat. So you realize denial is a very bad thing, very bad thing. Someone lives in denial, and when you remind someone who lives in denial, they get annoyed about you. Or you know, or ina kajanja tobereka nawe. Why? Because you're reminding them. When you tell someone that you have to look for a job and they're like, you look for it, I will do it. So you're supposed to go and look for a job for omusajja omukulu oba omukazi omukulu. You can recommend, but you're not going to go and look for it. And then after that, they go and mess up and they're like, oh boy, I gotta get away on my behalf. Why? Because you got it for them. So you must maintain it for them. Okay? So that's really bad. And when it comes to pain, problems, and plateauing, you cannot fix what you can't face. You cannot, because part of what happens, we talked about stagnation, but plateauing. There's someone getting to a place, I think we have seen them. And then they just settle in that place. They plateau. They allow to settle. And that is where when we go to the segment of business, we will find out where our businesses are. Because some of us are at the launching state, but some of us are in a place where we have plateaued for so long and we just need to get unstuck in order to go to the next level or to even open our eyes. Because part of stagnation and part of plateauing, there is a bit of denial. That I know what to do, but I am not doing it. I know I need different products. I know I need to look for a strategic place. I know I need to increase my production. I know I need to hire more people. I cannot work with the workforce that I have. Or I know I need to manage my finances better. Or I need to have my books in order. Or I need, as in, you know that you need certain things and you know what you need. But you keep procrastinating on that and living in denial. So you realize that there is no way you are going to break from pain, problems, and plateauing if you cannot face the things that you need to face in your life, okay? And then one of the biggest things that God did for me is giving me insight about me. And I pray that each one of us, God can give us insight about us. But do you know what the world treasures most is we want insight about others. That is why social media is trending. We want to peep into other people's lives to see what is happening and what is not happening. And then when someone has a good life or a nice house, or do you see how you can camp on their page just to see all the good things that they are doing, and yet you forget that, by the way, you're supposed to be minding your own business. Pick inspiration, go back and mind your own business. But some of us never mind our business. And that is denial. Denial will have you scroll your phone every single day. You go through everyone you see. You even take screenshots. You even promise yourself, I'll also do a reel like this. You also promise yourself that, you know what, I will do a profile like this. You promise yourself, but ever since you started screenshotting, show me one thing that you have done amongst all the things that you have screenshot. What better denial than that? Like, clearly, you have even seen someone who has done an example for you. Like, there's a template that this thing has worked for another person. So instead of just saying, you know what, let me just grab and apply in my own life, because some things are up, they can apply. You're like, you know what, let me also go and do that. So, and you also procrastinate on that. For example, we have events, the coach experience, I go to events, I have a social media platform, and all of us have social media platforms. You realize that you can tell someone that you think has much more following or has much more engagement, and you tell them, can you put this on your stories? I can pay you per story even if it's 10,000 or 20,000, but drive engagement for me. Where do you think brand influencing came from? So you realize that you already do, but do you know that you can think about that? You're like, you see someone and you're like, I've seen them promote other people's things and they've gotten good feedback, and you're like, I will also do it one time. And then what happens? One time becomes, I don't know how many times. Like, you're just not willing to lift a finger to do what you know that you are supposed to do. We are going too far. Look at your own house. When you say, I'm going to declutter, and then you come back the following day to the same mess. Come back the other day to the same mess. Come back the other day to the same mess. And you are living in a state of denial, like you are not seeing, but you are seeing. And then some of us just want, I think, God to manifest in ways, miraculous ways. Hey, I go back to a clean house. You don't go back to a clean house, my friend. You're going to clean, but to a clean bathroom. You're going to have to scrub your own bathroom. But sometimes you stay in denial, and then you see the corners are starting to show that, you know what, dust is settling. And then you're like, I will clean, I will clean, I will clean. Before you know it, and you're like, eh. One of the things that God has really helped me is being able to reflect on my own things, because when you reflect, when you have insight into yourself, then you're able to move certain things, okay? And do you know that when you move in a certain angle, all the others, I don't know if some of you have tried it, but there is, when you move one angle, other things start moving also. When you start maybe the journey of personal growth, before you know it, things are happening. When you start collaborating, you know, with other people, then all of a sudden your eyes, do you know that sometimes we see but we don't see? Have you ever seen the same thing differently at different time? Like, you've always been seeing it, but now you have more insight about it. You're like, hey, I didn't see it like this all the time. It could be a business, it could be, and sometimes I usually think that sometimes we lack insight, or we don't look for information because we are not yet in the time of doing that particular thing. But when you get to the time of doing that particular thing, you realize that so many things, and sometimes even the posts that you're seeing, all are pointing to one thing. And then you're like, I think God is trying to say something. So you realize that we have cues, we have signs everywhere to keep moving and to keep pushing. And God wants to give us a revelation about what's happening inside of us, not the revelation about what's happening in another's life. If you find yourself more concerned about what's happening in another person's life, just know there is a problem. If you start snooping what is happening in another person's life, why are they like that? Why aren't they growing? No, if you're growing half the time, you're not even minded about who is not growing. Because if we saw ourselves for who we are, sometimes we would have extended mercy to other people. We would have tolerated, we would have understood other people. If we got insight about who we are and the things that we have failed to do in life. So my prayer has always been, God, before I give up on it, give me a revelation. Give me an insight into my own life. And that is where sometimes you'll watch something and you'll feel that the fire rekindled to do something. And God will be reminding you about something. So before that talent is wasted, I'm like, give me insight to see. And sometimes God has told me that, you know what? Do it. Go ahead and do it. You can't know whether it will work or not without doing it first. So go ahead and do it, and then you can better it as you go along the way. So I am not the kind who will wait for perfection. No, I'm not going to wait for perfection. Perfection will find me as I go. Why? Because I have learned the hard way that if I procrastinate, if I wait, if I stay in denial, there is no growth for me. Some of us, one thing that I was thinking about today is we require crisis in order to change. Have you ever seen it in people's lives? You require crisis before you change. As in, you have to first get to a place where you have zero money and you are totally broke, and then that is when you will get tired. That is when you will want to start to change things. And then you want to start changing things because you have now you want to speak big. Then you have to start, slowly to build your portfolio back to where you were. But we shouldn't require a crisis until something wrong has happened. That is when you can change. Until something bad has happened, that is when you can change. Some of us require certain things. But self-correction limits God's correction, because God's correction sometimes is extreme. And then he met crisis. I mean, Jeba Kubiro Bululu, and what is going wrong with our boat, what is happening, and then they see him and they start to cast him down. As in, why wait until you're cast into the sea, until the fish has swallowed you, until that is when you're like, now I will go. As in, can we be obedient to the voice of God? Because God speaks to all of us. When it comes to businesses, when it comes to friendships, when it comes to moving our lives ahead, when it comes to finding our purpose, when it comes to positioning ourselves, let me tell you, we are just suppressing these voices, but God speaks to all of us. He speaks to all of us. We just choose to stay in a state of denial, but all of us know the truth. Now, I want you to make a self-audit. Go back and say, what places have I been staying in denial about my own life, about my family, about my business, about the money that I make, about the work that I do, about my colleagues, about my friends? Where have I been in denial? Let's not wait for crisis. Let's not wait for old age and then nozukuka, knowing that there is nothing you can do anymore. Let's not wait until you're fired. That is when you're thinking about something. Let me tell you, do you know the amount of people that fast in crisis and pray in crisis? If you lived with parents who lived in denial, you will live in denial like it is your second nature. If you have friends that live in denial, you will learn to live in denial, because just when you tell them to take action, they're saying, so before you know it, you also chill and wait until you move at their pace. That's why they say birds of the same feathers flock together. Because if you start flying with them long enough, you will also become a hen instead of an eagle. An eagle does not eat dead things. No, it kills its own things. But because you're a hen, you're waiting for things to die until you eat them, because there's someone who told you, "O papa nyo, o yangu wanyo." You know? The other thing I discovered is denial is worshiping at the foot of our huge ignorance and then the fragile self-esteem. You know, when you feel like, if I do this now, if I fail, what will people talk about? You know? So we don't want other people to talk about us, so we don't want to place ourselves in situations that will expose our weaknesses or our ignorance. But again, we are first ignorant, and then we acquire the knowledge to do whatever we need to do. So it's okay if I come off as ignorant and you tell me I'm ignorant, I will tell you, yes, I'm ignorant because I don't know it. Teach me how to do it. Okay? So that is worshiping at the altar of your fragile ego. You want to protect it too much, and then you stay in a state and in the prison for the rest of your life. And it's so dangerous when we are in that state. So I just hope that today you can make that prayer that, you know what, God, reveal myself to myself. I'm tired of snooping in other people's lives, whether on social media, whether asking people kakati gundi akola chi tebi kwata ko webuze kati nze nkola chi, what am I doing today? That shows that tomorrow I will still earn, that tomorrow I will still have a closer relationship with God. That shows that tomorrow I will still have a beautiful family. I will bring up my children well. I will be in a happy life. We all want to be a happy life. That I will be in a continuous state of thriving. I am not going to sink. I am not going to survive. I am going to thrive. But there is no thriving if we are still in denial. You have to come out of denial, and for as long as you're in denial, you are sinking and you are surviving. If you want to thrive, you cross out of denial. And we keep coming out daily about different things. You don't go in denial about everything. No, it's not a one formula fixes everything. No, you get out of denial about your own home. You get out of denial about your own body. You get out of denial about your business. You get out of denial about different fragments in your life. So I want you to flash that torch in different areas. And when denial comes, I want you to know that now this is denial. You know, some of us don't understand. When denial comes, call it its name and say, this is denial, but I am not worshiping at the altar of my fragile ego. No, I am not protecting this ego. I am exposing this ego. Let us be called ignorant, but when we are willing to learn and to grow. And that is the best thing that can happen. So you are deliberate. You are willful, you see a mountain, you dread it, but you say, I am going to start climbing it anyway, because that's what it takes for me to grow, and that's what it takes for me to actually be better. So for those of you that have joined us online, thank you so much. We want to be able to turn the chapter and be able to cross over into business, but it's been a blessing, and I hope that we've been blessed. I hope that this was really to flash a torch into your own life and gain insight about yourself when it comes to denial. We read the word denial, we see it the way it is, but sometimes we never take it to the nitty-gritties of our lives. And I hope that you can be able to do that in your own life and be able to call a spade, not a big spoon, and be able to actually rectify it and do something about it. Until next time, let's grow together and let's keep thriving.